Looks good. Okay, we got one. Hey, everybody on Instagram. How are you guys? If you could give me a thumbs up, let me know that you can hear me and see me all right. Would be greatly appreciated before I go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone on TikTok. Somebody there could also give me a thumbs up. Letting me know that you can hear me and see me all right. And welcome, everyone on Facebook. Ivy Angela Rivera, Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium page, and YouTube at Ask Ivy. I do ask everyone from the other platforms to please switch to YouTube at Ask Ivy. It helps me out the most. And when I have problems chronically on TikTok, for example, where I guarantee, I'm going to tell you guys right now, for those of you who follow me on TikTok, they're going to shut me down. They shut me down with every single live show. It doesn't matter anymore what I'm talking about. They've been destroying my account for 2 years. You know, if you don't switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy, you may have to wait to hear the answer to your question until it publishes. So you may want to get off of there and just go on over to YouTube now. So we are doing questions here tonight. All right, so this is my Ask Ivy show where I take your personal questions and I deliver out messages from Spirit. So for $5, you guys are going to get the short answer. For $10, the long answer. Jill, my beautiful producer, is putting in the comment section where you can go on Instagram and TikTok to make your payment, because I'm not able to put that in the description. But if you are on Facebook or YouTube, you could see right up at the top where you go. That's Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. I do need you to submit your question when you make your payment. So we don't have stuff going on in a million different places. That's the easiest way to do it, okay? So you make your payment, you submit your question right there. And also, if you are making your payment and submitting your question some other way for some reason, it may not match. So like your payment doesn't look anything like your profile name on your social media. So you need to make that clear to Jill that those are both you, okay? With questions, do include the name of anyone you're referring to, okay, or names, and it helps me speed up the process here because I try to get to everyone as quickly as possible. So we want to make room for your neighbors. If you don't want to say the name, give the initials. A couple quick announcements. I will be at Grey Cliff for the eclipse. So here in New York State, the eclipse is a huge deal on April 8th, and I chose that event to work where I'll be offering readings all day. So Frank Lloyd Wright's architectural beach property, absolutely amazing. Watching the eclipse from there. Now, Grey Cliff was selling tickets. Everybody really is. This isn't really a walk-up type of situation here. We have the National Guard coming in. This is too much foot traffic for that. So pretty much everybody is selling tickets. They had maxed out at 200 and then they added on another 100. And I know they still do have a waiting list. So if you wanted to get on that waiting list, I would do so now. And you can go onto my website and just get linked directly to them. So that's ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. And you never know what's going to happen. People could drop out between now and then. A lot of people are traveling. We really don't know. Okay. It's Mercury in retrograde, so you may still get in. Also, I know you guys love to come see me at my events. And normally that's fine. Even if you don't want to participate in the actual event, you'll come and see me for a reading. We're not going to be able to do that this time, again, because it is a ticketed event and too much foot traffic. Okay. So you can't do pre-bookings. You can't just come up and see me. They're not going to let you in. But if you already got your tickets for that event, my pre-bookings are open. So I will see you guys there. Also, after the eclipse, I am doing a seasonal reopening of the 1882 Victorian Funeral Home. So if you want to come for historical tours or the ghost hunts, we are doing those at 7:30 and then 9 p.m. And you can text the business phone to get your tickets in advance. That is also limited space. What else do we have coming up? Psychic mediumship course is evergreen. Okay. So if you want to train with me, you have two different tiers to learning. You have a 10-week video download course or a 28-week official training to teach you how to give professional readings to the public. If you want to do that, or maybe you just want to do a whole lot of intuitive intelligence development for whatever reasons you're coming in. A lot of people also want to learn to manage their abilities because it's starting to look like disabilities. And so either one will be great for you, but especially tier 2 is going to help you out the most. We are evergreen, which means you can jump in anytime and you're still going to get to work with the public. You're still going to work with assistant teachers. I do live Q&As. You'll be with your fellow students in a Google chat, but if you were waiting to come and do the class live and you wanted to maybe do it in person, you wanted to do it online, we're bringing that back. I have to re-record everything in that curriculum. And we've opened up registration. That's for January. I don't know why I'm trying to remember this one. I know Jill just popped it up on the screen. January 2025. And that's going to, again, run 28 weeks. Okay. So registration is now open if you've been waiting to take the course in person or live. And there's nothing wrong with the classes. They're amazing. I hope I could do as well as I did, even back then, but it was COVID and it just is gross. Okay. To even think of those videos being out there. I want fresh, clean energy on the psychic mediumship course. I think that's pretty much it. Let's go ahead, and I do want to say thank you before I start taking your questions. So I want to say thank you to my YouTube members. YouTube members, half of your email reads for the month of March have gone out. The rest are going out tonight, and your horoscopes already went out. If you are a YouTube member, top 2 tiers, and you didn't submit your email reading because either you don't know how or got lost in the sauce, sometimes these go to my junk or spam file. If you don't get it by the end of the night tonight, message me and we'll make sure that you do. But also YouTube members always get moved up to the front of the line. So if you purchase a question, you'll be moved up to the front. So thank you to Misubi, Lisa Cece, Jill Marie, Stella Marie, Cody, Kat Bathory, Heather G, Yolanda Fisher, Mary, Jordan, Audra, Erica Trotter, Angie Johnson, Robin Hartling, Chicken Mama, Tristan Marion, Edgar Velardes, Jennifer Cole, Deanna Altieri, Me Love 716, Andrea M, Jan Phillips, and Vanessa. I appreciate you guys so much. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm trying to think if there was anything else I know. Just one more thing. So also, my spiritual life coach training is currently entering into week 3 tomorrow. And if you want to jump in, it's not too late. It's a 6-week training course with a certification through Roots Revival Interfaith. And you don't have to jump in if you don't want to. Most people are taking it through video download, okay? But we are working with the public, and there is a lot of hands-on exercises and stuff like that going on. So keep it in mind. If you feel that spiritual life coaching is something you've been wanting to do with people, giving guidance to them in a more, counseling type of an atmosphere. If you practice energy work, Reiki, or give readings or whatever, and you feel like there's got to be something in between both of these, this is probably it. All right. So hope to see you there for that. And again, you guys can go to my website for that. And if you need to book a party, a reading, or a psychic fair with me, you can also, if you're in a totally different time zone, you could just book a video reading with me, Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com. Let's go ahead and get into it. Welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk. This is my Ask Ivy show, where I'm taking your personal questions and I am delivering out messages from spirit. $5 gets you the short answer. $10 gets you the longer answer. I'm going to warn everyone on TikTok. They will be shutting me down, as they always do. You may want to switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Wherever you submit your payment, and Jill, my producer, is putting that in the comment sections. If you're on Instagram or TikTok, wherever you submit your payment, please submit your question there. Include names of anyone that you're referring to, and we'll get to as many of these as we can. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Jill, who's first? Okay, so Edgar, one of my YouTube members, Edgar has a $10 question. All right. Edgar says, could I please get a finance prediction for the year? Thank you. Okay. So finance reading for 2024. Feels like there's actually a lot of activity in the middle of the year. So I want to say like around July. And then there's talk of August, the first 2 weeks, possibly going into the third week. And then we're looking more toward the end. And it's November going into December. You may also see a peak in January of what would that be, 2025. So a few different things happening here to spur that along. You could be looking at some type of a promotion with the first one. And then with the second one, you may be looking at either picking up a second job or leaving the first job for another job. And while you have options here, it's up to your free will to make these decisions, what direction you want to take it in. This is the highest likelihood. So the things that I'm saying, it's not like it's set in stone, it's destiny, and it's going to happen this way. It's up to you. You don't have to do any of this. You don't have to accept any of this. However, it feels right to keep moving with this fluidity in the way that I originally said it, because if we start to get comfortable, sometimes it can block up the flow of prosperity and law of attraction and manifestation and things like this. I feel like, Edgar, what you've done here is basically create this. And not necessarily right now, but in the last couple of years, you've had a lot of visions. We have to remember that manifestation can take a while. And you've had a lot of ambitions and ideas about specific atmospheres that you want to work in, particular tier of income you want to have, a certain type of lifestyle that you want in your day-to-day, like mundane. What is that going to look like? Where do you want to be living? Even atmosphere. Okay, so you've broken this down real specifically. That tells me that you've thought about it a lot. It tells me that you sent these very particular messages out to the universe like an order form. And that's what the universe is going to give back because you were specific. You may have even been writing this down at some point, okay? Like daily affirmations or daily, manifestations. And again, it could take a little bit, but now we're getting there. All right. So I think that there's no way for you to really turn down the first one I see coming in, toward the middle of the year. Why would you turn down a promotion? But I do think that with the second opportunity, there could be more debate because it's going to change things quite a lot. All right. So enjoy. And something more current coming in, I want to say within the next month or two is another promotion, but this may be something more like a pay raise or smaller promotion, like a little bit of a job title change, or you taking on a new task with a bit of a pay raise. That one's not as big, but it's still there. Enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. You earned it. Even something coming up after that. Yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot here. All right, we're going to move on to another question. This is from Ayana. This is a $5 question. Ayana wants to know, how will I do on my National Registry medic exam? Well, this is up to you. I cannot give a 100% guarantee because there are too many hands in the pot. Not necessarily with the people who are judging it, but more like you, who you interact with right before, choices and decisions you make, how well you sleep. There are a lot of factors. What are you eating? I would just say, don't eat trash in the 3 days or so leading up to it. Don't forget that what we eat today affects us tomorrow and 48 hours later. Okay. So I learned so much back as a personal trainer about how taking care or not taking care of your physical, mental, emotional well-being affects you in a delayed way, right? A delayed response. And it can really screw with your brain. So I think it's important for you to eat healthy, keep it clean, keep all of that energy away from your stomach and your organs and your filtration system and up in your head where you want it. I think that you are with some of these questions borderline. And so I feel like if they were asked in a different way, you would know the answer. But the way they're going to be asked, you may feel as though, and I don't know if there are like 2 or 3 different versions of this test that go out or something, but it seems like you're getting a version that isn't the best for you. But there are other questions on there that are very, very simple for you. So be confident. Do your reviewing, but don't overdo it. Don't confuse yourself. And I would say that at this point, you really need to pick apart what you're really lost on. So if there are, say you have 3 to 5 questions, maybe even 6 that you're like, I'm really lost. What do I mean by really lost? Not completely in the fog, but definitely like, I'm not sure of the answer. Or if this was asked in a different way, I'm not sure how I would answer it. Focus on those and forget everything else. Okay. Because you got a lot of this under your belt already. I think you're going to do well. All right, let's move on to cliche. This is a $10 question. Hi, Mama. Cliche says, how does moving to Utah look for me? Utah? It looks interesting. You know, I'm seeing you in a bit of an isolated situation and feeling very connected to everything. So, whereas other people would maybe move to that particular area that you're thinking of, and not do well, it feels like you will do really well. It also feels almost like a city in the desert, you know? So, if you're moving to a part of Utah or whatever, I don't know what the heck goes on in Utah, but if you're moving to a part that is actually compact, with people who sort of think the way that you do, maybe they have certain spiritual beliefs like you have, which would be extraordinary, because that is hardcore like Christian Mormonism stuff going on there. Maybe feeling a little bit more like, I don't know, I almost have like an Oregon feel or like a California, like a West Coast feel. Now, when and why does that happen? Well, because other people like you migrated there already, you know, or they've decided to sort of congregate. Like that's how New York State is. Like we're all just congregating here, right? Because we have like mentality, and it makes it safer and like liberal and higher vibration and more intelligent, you know. And so that vibe makes it hard to ever leave. You know, a lot of people who leave New York always come crawling back, you know, I'm one of them, but there is this feel there of connectivity and community, and you being able to speak your truth, and people are really appreciating you and hearing you. You're being seen, you're being heard. And I think that's really important for this next part of your life's journey, that all the hard work that you've put in to developing yourself and becoming more intuitively intelligent and working with your emotional intelligence and your empathic ability and your blocking skills and being able to heal others, but in like a productive way and in a modern way, and with, you know, meeting people where they are right now, out with the old system, in with the new. I think all the effort that you've been putting into this puts you almost, if you go there, up on a pedestal. And so everyone can see you're like a lighthouse. Okay. Literally, that's the symbol your joy guide and your work guide are using. You're a lighthouse. So there, people are like the waves, you know, coming at you. So if you do this somewhere else, I'm not saying it's not going to be effective. I would have to look at it closer, and we don't have time for that today. But if you were to do this somewhere else, you could almost be more like the waves. You could be in the waters, in the deep waters, in the mix. Maybe people who do what you do are kind of like a dime a dozen. There are just too many, you know, it's oversaturated. Something is off in a lot of other places. And this would be very easy for you to prosper. Okay. So I like it. But what I really like about it is that it's feeding your soul. It's feeding your bank account. It's feeding your light work. It's kind of hitting all areas for at least, I'd say 2 years. And then between the second and the 5th year, you know, we'll see how you feel about it. Maybe some changes. All right. Thank you, Cliche, for your question. Just a reminder to everyone, I did forget to ask, like always, if you could please give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. It helps me out in the algorithm. Hit that subscribe button. And if you are here on YouTube and you want to become a YouTube member, you can hit the join button to see the different tiered options. All right, let's go ahead and move on to another one. This is from Manny. And this is a $5 question. Manny wants to know, when I was in mediumship school in Georgia, the teacher's daughter saw a UFO around me clairvoyantly. What does spirit have to say as to why this happened? Thank you. So that's a common thing with a lot of people. It was really hitting a peak in the last 10 years. So if you were there in the last like decade, there was sort of almost an obsession with UFOs and aliens and how we come from alien planets and how the aliens are coming to get us and how we are regularly abducted and how it's directly linked to the human race and all kinds of things. And I really read it more as a form of escapism than anything, because it's just another thing people tend to get hooked into when they're trying to develop spiritually, and they want to kind of like rush it. They want to push it. They want something more. It's coming from a place of ego in my book, which is fear, manipulation, and control. And there's a desire also with the escapism to literally be abducted and taken to another planet. Like, please get me off this planet. Okay. Which I fully understand. However, that's not why we're here. We didn't come here to escape here. We came here to get rooted and grounded and work with the energy. And so what you would have found yourself embedded in the last decade, especially, are people who are so excessively connected to alien energy because they're grasping at it. They're reaching for it. They are making that connection. The aliens are not typically reaching out to us. The aliens really couldn't care less. We're pretty useless all in all. We're useless even to our own selves. I mean, we're a lost race, but people want that. And so what you feed, you get more of. And so these types of people I would see constantly coming into my classes too, here at the Ivy League Psychic Academy, giving a lot of alien messages to their fellow students. And everyone was always like, that seems a little off. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm getting from it. I do not feel that aliens are trying to necessarily connect with you on a regular basis. Do I believe they're real? Absolutely. Do I think that's what happened with this lady? No. Okay. Thank you so much for that question, Manny. Also, it doesn't necessarily make the messaging wrong. So, and this goes for everybody. If someone's giving you a message and they're like, well, it came from your, the mothership, or it came from your alien, these alien planets, or these, creatures are sending this message. It's possible that the message itself is in the ballpark of accuracy or totally accurate. It's just the source is off a bit. And people do that in mediumship and tarot and all kinds of things every day, all day. They get the source, right, of where the information is coming from wrong, but they get the message right sometimes. Just something to think about. All right, we have another question coming in here from Mai, and this is a $5 question. Mai wants to know, should I move back to Maryland or stay in New York City? I don't know that you should move to Maryland, and I don't honestly think you should stay in, North Carolina. It's kind of a no to both. And what that can mean in this case is that, you're feeling a little stuck or a little bit like a mouse on a wheel, like you're treading water. I think that you may want to explore other avenues, and you may want to take a more serious look at your career and what your career goals are. You may want to look at what you want your day-to-day lifestyle to really be, unapologetically, greedily even. Okay, specifically what you want there. And I would make sure that you're not using any relationship dynamics in your life of any kind, from romantic partnerships to family dynamics, anything. I would not allow relationships to dictate what you honestly want and to be influencing. This is about you. This is about your life contract. This is about you and your higher mind. And I would also look at the atmosphere itself and, be real honest about whether or not that's going to work for you at all, but definitely longer term, because there's a lot of misses. There's a lot of miss here. And North Carolina, though, on that note, has already expired for you. So your roots are no longer there. When I say the roots are dead, what I mean is there's no like nutrients coming up into you. If you were a tree, you know, your roots are dead. It's not a place. These aren't people. There's no networking. It's not an atmosphere that you can gain anything more off, you know, out of. You have maxed out. So let's look at other locations. I would also for you check out, you know, more of the West Coast. California, Arizona, da 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 da. Okay, you have some better options for sure. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you, Mai, for your question. All right, Fairy Grandmother asks a $10 question. And she wants to know, hi, Ivy, is there a high probability that Jean and I will get back together? Thanks. So is there a high probability? I think there actually is. I'm a little surprised this hasn't like happened already. So I don't know if you guys are piecing it together and you're putting in like a lot of energetic connection. This can happen through chords. This can happen through astral travel. This can happen through telepathy. This can happen through clairempathy. You know, there are a lot of ways to make connections with people without actually being with them. And you know, I feel that this is already decided, but I think that there could also be, once you guys are together, there could be some level of disappointment. And the first thing that may happen is that we're toying with this more. And instead of it just being energetic, we're actually starting to walk it out. And when we actually start playing around with this, we find that Jean is shutting down, detaching, walling off, becoming unavailable. This could look like ghosting. This could look like instability in the amount of affection, attention, energy, thoughtfulness that's being given to you. And I want to say to you that the world gives you a lot of opportunities, and it's not just you. It's everybody. We all get a lot of opportunities. To read the room, to read the situation, to evaluate, to slow our roll and make sure that we have reciprocity and balance and come at a relationship with judgment and discernment. So every relationship should look, I say this all the time. You guys are probably sick and tired of listening to me, but I'm so serious about this. You've got to slow your roll and you have to make sure that a relationship, whether it be in the dating phase, the marital phase, I don't care. I don't care. It has to look like a ping pong game. You hit the ping pong over, they hit the ping pong back. You hit the ping pong over. And if it goes off the table on their side, you do not yell to them to pick it up. You do not go get another ball. You do not encourage them to come back to the game. You simply walk away. Game over. Okay. So if you are shown some things around that time, when you guys actually start walking this out a bit more, that look like the ball went off the table and the ball is in this person's court, you leave and you do not come back, even if he decides later on down the road when he feels like it to toss the ball back over to you. Game's already over. Sorry, Charlie. I don't know what to tell you. And I would not go any deeper. Okay. Is this 100% guarantee this is going to happen? Not 100%, but I'd say it's like 80, 85. You know, he could surprise us or he could wait till later to do that, especially if you're catching on that it may happen. So I would just be very smart. This is a time and a period of your life for you to grow you, for you to center you, for you to focus on you. He can come in and kind of plow over all of that in a lot of different ways. Okay, just be mindful. But yeah, I do think it's a high likelihood you guys will get back together. Absolutely. Let's go on to another question here from Lucy. Hi, Lucy. I miss you. I love you. Lucy asks a $10 question. Okay, so Lucy wants to know, wondering if my grandma Corrine and sister Nina have any words of wisdom for me tonight. Much love. Okay. Grandma Corrine, always. I mean, she's with you so much. Lucy used to work for me, and wherever she was in the house, her grandmother would just show up periodically. And this house is like massive. This is a, historical site. And I always knew something was going on with Lucy when grandma would show up. Um, so, when grandma comes in here, she makes me feel like she's been sort of tucking you into bed. And she's talking about two. This could be the last 2 weeks. This felt more like the last 48 hours, or there were two different nights recently, like within the last week or so, where you had dreams and visits from her, but she's tucking you in. And so the only thing she really wants to say about this is, I'm making sure that you're sleeping peacefully. Now, with her protecting your sleep, this is your sacred time of rest and recuperation. This is your sacred space. This is a period of time that we should all be fiercely guarding on our own. And when we have a lot of tumultuous things happening in life, it's also the first point of attack in our lives. And so the fact that you have a grandmother coming through protecting that space for you is really a beautiful thing. I mean, I cannot tell you how valuable that is. I also feel like you're really complying with it very nicely, which suggests that, she's proud of you for doing things in your life every day to set up healthy boundaries and to remain well balanced. You may have incorporated some work into your daily routine where you're like processing things, or I don't know, maybe yoga or meditation or walking. Okay. Motion meditation, whatever you've been doing, it is working. But lately, and she mentions back 3, this could be back 3 days. This could also be a ballpark of 3 weeks. And your sister mentions the last 2 months. You may be feeling like it's getting backed up a little bit, and you may be feeling frustrated. And this is what your sister wants to say is that, you could do everything right, and it doesn't mean it's going to pay out. You can do what you're supposed to do, and it doesn't mean that it's going to feel good. You can be exactly where you're meant to be, and it can feel like you are entirely in the wrong place. It's almost this ability for you to stop overthinking. If you've been becoming, your sister is referring to it as being almost like double-minded. So if you've been struggling with like being double-minded or overthinking things, or like negative cyclical patterns of thought, like a mouse on a wheel, it's really in that the magic happens when you remove yourself from that. How do you do that? You slap yourself on the hand, you catch those thoughts, you stop them immediately, and you replace it with something else. And I feel like you're getting there. I really feel like in the next 6 months or so, you may be mastering this skill. And you may have also been talking to, like, whether it's like a therapist or doing self-therapy or watching YouTube videos that are therapeutic or whatever it is. You may have been doing more, and your sister's like sitting with you during that time. And I don't know. She's just funny. Sometimes she makes wisecracks, and it's like, whenever you get too serious, she has a way of coming in and saying something totally smart ass. And I would also be watching for it in like memes and videos and like fortune cookies and things like this. But whatever you've been doing therapeutically for yourself, you're also about to hit some breakthroughs with that, because sometimes it can feel like you're plateauing in that. Okay. So they're both just so proud of you and are really supporting you. You're in a really good place. You're in a really good place. I wouldn't be surprised, though, just as you're psychic, if you start to feel like it's time for something new, it's time for some movement. You almost remind me of like a hermit crab that outgrew the shell. You're like, I want to stay on the beach, but I got to find a new, whoa. Did you guys see that? There's no wind. There's no storm. Lucy, that was just for you. That's never happened as long as I've lived in this property on one of my lives. Actually, this really doesn't happen. That was crazy. I'm creeped out. Okay. So anyways, there you go. If that doesn't say it all, if you are feeling like you're outgrowing, okay, what you're doing, this may be time to start examining what that means. Woo. All right. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, sister. We love you, Lucy. All right. Let's move on to another one from Mariposa Oscura. This is a $10. And what is the next level of my art or spiritual relic business? Where do I go from here? Okay. What is the next level of my art, spiritual relic business? Seems almost like you're selling things, so the image that they're giving me is almost like a door-to-door salesman back in the day. We can do this in a lot of ways. You can pitch what it is that you have. You can to individuals, to um, establishments, to corporations, to even smaller businesses, hotels, whatever. You can also do that with like art galleries or that type of an idea in that vein. You could do this online where you're basically pitching it to like all of the world through things like social media. What the hell's going on here tonight? This is like madness. Social media and video clips and reels and things like that. You have more growth, okay, that can happen through those outlets. And I think that the first image that I really got for you was like, okay, well, how do we get her there? Okay, how does she get there? The first image was of you networking. So it's you having more communication with people who essentially want to bring you in. So whether they're bringing you in as like an artist or an independent contractor, there's some kind of like contract that could be signed and you can, sort of do longer term projects. It feels like it's branching out. Now that to me feels like more consistent work. And there is talk of right now and what may be brewing in the near future. It could be almost like orders, so if people are ordering a certain amount of something, it reminds me almost like a prince. This is the closest thing I can compare it to in my symbol base. If somebody were to order 10 prints of something you created, you would be sending out that order, and that's a fairly good amount of money to be made, but it doesn't have the same trajectory and long-term possibility or networking options as these other things that I was talking about. So I think you need to open yourself up to that. One of the other things that I'm seeing with your artwork could be connecting more to, I don't know if you ever saw Tom Hanks did a movie called Castaway, and the whole movie, there were these angel wings that followed him on this FedEx box that had been drawn on, and apparently they were in the box. And there was a woman who he ends up with at the end of the movie who was like making these wings. And it's a symbol of being rescued by angel entities who are the healing entities of the universe. And I think that if you were to incorporate more of that type of energy into your pieces, you'll be seeing that more people are connecting with it. And I'm not saying you don't already do that. You may be doing that, but you may be more intentional about it or doing it in a variation. And people may be really identifying and almost like rushing you for it because it is helping them to heal, right? And that's like the most amazing part of art, is that it can help us to unblock and to heal and to become more of ourselves and to realize the beauty and what the universe is really all about, So pay attention to things like that. But it's almost making it more personal to people's journeys and what the people really need and want to see right now. Okay. You probably already do this. But if you don't, sit with your work and money guide and your joy guide who watches over your spiritual development, and ask them on a daily basis with your morning cup of coffee or tea, what should I be working on today? And pay attention to some of the images they're giving you, because they may look like random weird images, but they should be incorporated. Symbology is everything. Okay. And people are going to resonate with the symbology. All right. Thank you so much. That last part was oddly specific, but it is what it is. Okay. Let's move on to another one. This is from Edgar. Thank you for the donation, Edgar. So Edgar's asking a $10 question, and he wants to know, when do you see me getting my clinical state license, LCSW? The hours I accumulate for it varies because of frequent client cancellations. Well, that's annoying. Okay, when will this happen? It's based on hours accumulating. I'm seeing 30, I'm seeing 40, I'm seeing it go quick, and then I'm seeing it slow. It seems like everybody, you may want to watch the planets. I mean, here's one thing that I do in my business, and I suggest this to everyone who runs any kind of a business, but it's like, if you don't watch the planets, you don't know when your business is going to increase and plummet. Like, you don't know when people are going to be like no shows, or no one's going to book, or like people are going to book excessively and you're going to hit burnout. I mean, you really don't know. It's based on the collective energy for you, Edgar. So I think that, you could find, there's talk of March getting quite a bit closer. It seems like in the spring, it's kind of peaking. I wouldn't be surprised if you could do this. There's talk of fives, maybe like around 5 months out from now, or in the 5th month. Yeah, but I would expect the same pattern to be going on. And I also feel like you're not rushing into it. So I don't know if there's something else you need to do with this. Like, I don't understand if it happens automatically, or if there's, something more you're going to have to do. But sometimes it feels like you're the holdup. So that can mean a couple different things in this case. If you start really putting, let's say it this way, I would start really putting your intention, if you're not already doing this, and it feels like a lot of times you're not, you're just kind of robotically going along with the system and feeling almost like a victim of the system, right? Whatever happens, happens. I can't control people. Yeah, you can. You can control people more than you think you can. I would manifest and really utilize your skills in law of attraction to manipulate energy. You're a level 3-4 empath. You can make light bulbs burn out. You could shut down computer systems. You could certainly manipulate someone to show up for their scheduled appointment more than what you are. You know what I'm saying? So I would push it. I would manipulate it more. Control this, and you may be done even before that. It's not like you're hurting anybody, right? You're using it for the greater good. That's what we should be doing. I think it's also here to teach you some of your own skills that you haven't mastered yet. So there's more here than what meets the eye. All right. Thank you so much for that question, Edgar. We're going to take another one here from a Stacy. This is a $5 question. I can't believe TikTok hasn't shut me down yet, but I am going to warn you guys again. For those of you who follow me on there, they shut me down with every live. And I recommend that you guys switch over to YouTube at Ask Ivy. Okay, that's my stable platform. So Stacy, $5 question. She wants to know, is Preppy Juliet an artistic opportunity? Fell in my lap. Any advice on how to approach it? What is Preppy Juliet? And we got a capital cap on an artistic opportunity fell in my lap. Any advice on how to approach it? I'm gonna do the best I can with this. If you guys could edit before you press send, that would be awesome, because like I could take this in several directions, and I want to give you the answer that you're actually looking for. Okay. In a limited amount of time. So any advice on how to approach it? Any advice on how Stacy should approach this thing she's asking about? I feel like you shouldn't really approach it very much. My feeling with this is that you should be allowing whatever this is that you're referring to know that you're there, and to say, I'm interested in interacting, and then not necessarily pulling your energy back in a walled off kind of a way, but more pulling your energy back in a detached kind of a way. Think of yourself as the queen. The queen never gets off her throne. The queen never chases anything or anyone. Anything and anyone that wants to approach the queen is fortunate to get her time and attention and energy. It's not guaranteed, but if they get it, they're fortunate to receive it. That also does not equate to an automatic yes, that they are going to get whatever it is that they're asking from the queen. So you're just sort of observing, and you're just going to see and witness what it is that this thing is offering, is made of, how it behaves. Is it stable? What does it bring to the table? I mean, there are a lot of questions here that you should be asking. And if you're able to check off a bunch of boxes and say like, yeah, I like this, this checks out, right? It's the math is mathing, and like, this is beneficial to me. then I think you can respond. And there's nothing more to do with this. This isn't a heavy activity type of situation coming from you. Okay. Hopefully that makes some sense. I did the best I could with that. Thank you so much, Stacy. So we're going to move on to another one. This is from Hunter. This is a $10 question. Cats are so quiet. What are they up to? What is happening in here? Such a weird night. Let's see what's going on. Okay, Hunter is a $10 question. So Hunter says, is pursuing anything romantic with Daniel worth my time? Not really. So the thing with Daniel is that he's a lot of work. He's a lot of labor, and he doesn't appreciate the labor you would be putting in. And anyone who takes labor from you without reciprocating it back is a dud. Absolutely not. And that goes for friendships. You know, I've been getting rid of people left and right the last year. I can just feel it. My tolerance level for people who do not reciprocate is, zilch. I think that whether you're talking about a friend, talking about a lover, you're talking about, a lot of people are exiting relationships, even long-term relationships and marriage and things like this, to say, you're putting too much labor on me. I'm out. Okay. You don't appreciate. So if you look at this interaction with him on a regular basis, it looks like he has a tendency to kind of reach out to you in a loving, supportive, active listening kind of a way, and to try to create those bonds of intimacy when he wants more of you. So the exchange is not really fair. If someone gives to you only to receive something back or to siphon your energy or to rope you in, it's almost like breadcrumbing. It's like what the TikTok algorithm does, okay, which is sporadic positive reinforcement, but the majority of it is negative reinforcement, which drives you even harder. So it's like understanding what a mouse in a maze does, right? In a science lab experiment, when the majority of the time they don't get that pellet, and then eventually they stop even wanting the pellet. It's like, that's where I see potentially you guys going in the future, meaning you going in the future with us. And I think that it would be unrealistic for you to expect him to step up at this point, because he shouldn't be bringing any of that energy into the relationship at his age or at this time, right? He's not like ready for anything. So people like that basically need to be working on themselves before they're engaging. It may be you though that pushes or pulls for it more than what you should be. So I think there are positive points here. We don't have time for that today. The reading's up, but like, there are positive things, but I think this may trump everything, as it should. You deserve what you put out. You deserve to get that back without having to ask for it, beg for it, wait for it. No. Okay. Let's move on to another one. Daisy on TikTok is asking a $10 question. So Daisy wants to know, should I move to Berkshire Hathaway Realty or should I stay with Silver Creek Realty Group? You have benefits if you move, but I am a little bit concerned about the stability of the company. I'm a little bit worried about fluctuation and changes that may go on there, not right when you get there, but shortly after, which suggests it's already happening. And if I were you, I would psychically read that situation. If I were you, you need to read situations before you enter into them. A family dinner, a party, a new job, relocation. You need to read psychically what is going to be happening there. And don't treat your reading of the situation as though it's your imagination. Okay. If it came up, it's real. When will it be real? Does free will affect it a bit? Maybe. But you still need to gauge if it is a possibility. And if it comes up, it is a possibility. If you feel comfortable with that. My feeling with your personality is that you could navigate anything. I don't think this is a deal breaker. I think that while you should be prepared to maybe have to deal with some stuff, I don't think it's gonna wreck you in any way or like ruin the benefits or remove the benefits, I guess I should say. I think it may push you a little bit more than what you would have done if you were kind of resting on your laurels and you were in a comfort zone, to look at alternatives to that, like becoming an independent agent or, selling other types of real estate or moving even to another company or, getting out of it altogether. I mean, there could be a lot of different things that you start looking at that you weren't planning on getting so in depth in your research with. And all of those things are good. If you stay where you are, there's this sense of the same old, same old, same old. This feels pretty dysfunctional. It feels like nothing is happening, honestly. So, if I were you, I would leave and I would plan on using it as leverage for something else, potentially shortly after I get there, or making sure I'm going to sort of dig in and ride it out for about 2 years and then allow myself to transition again. If you stay, it will be more the same. I would even say this. It looks like if you stay with this Silver Creek place, there could be more deterioration. So I don't really know what choices you have. I mean, if you're looking at a bunch of you have other options. You don't have to just move over to this one thing. Okay. But staying doesn't really feel like a good option at all. Okay. Interesting. This is common, her question. When you make a transition, we have to remember that it's sort of like playing a game of chess. It's dun 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 dun. You took it and you took it. Dun 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 dun. It's just over. We're always moving. We're always changing. Nothing is the end all be all. And just because you feel drawn to something, like you're supposed to do something, and then if it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean it didn't work out. It means it worked out for a period of time, and now we're on to the next thing that will work out. So we don't want to misread these things as black or white, right or wrong, left or right. There's a lot of gray in there, a lot of variation and nuance in these situations. So we need to always be growing. Let's just remember that we were not programmed to think that way. We were programmed to get a job and, let it kill us and retire with just a couple years off and I don't know, have a retirement plan from the company. I mean, that's what we've been programmed to do. And that is not the way. Okay. Let's move on to another one from Yolanda. This is a $10 question. All right. And Yolanda is one of my members. Good to see you. So she says, lots of dreams, but I can't make sense of it. Feels like loved ones. Can you help with the message? Okay. So it would be good to have more details on which dream you're referring to, but what I'm going to do is just kind of generalize if there are any messages coming through in general. You have a gentleman coming through, watches over you in a paternal way, but this may have been more like, romantic partner, which kind of sounds gross when I combine those two things, but it's more like, I guess what I should have said is protective energy. This person comes through showing a bunch of symbology in your dream state, whether you're remembering it or not, it's still going to be the same messaging. And that is being on the beach and what do they call it? Shucking oysters or something? I don't even know what I'm talking about, obviously, ever, but it's like you're hitting this. He's doing this for you. Okay. So it's like he's got this gigantic oyster. It's ridiculous. I don't even know if they can actually get that big, but it's bigger than the palm of his hand. He's got big hands and he's hitting this thing. He's trying to open it. Oh, okay. I see. All right. It's not for food. It's for pearls. Okay. He's trying to find pearls for you. And he's trying to, it's almost like I'm going to go through all these oysters and they're not all going to have a pearl, but I'm going to get enough pearls to give you a beautiful piece of jewelry, and if it can't be a necklace, it'll be earrings or something like this. So I have him coming through, just letting you know essentially that you don't have to do all the work yourself and you should remember your value. Remember, okay, what do we call them? Pearls. Right? These are symbolic of power. These are symbolic of money. These are symbolic of prosperity, wealth. You don't always see yourself as clearly as the world around you sees you. And when the world around you does not see you clearly, that doesn't mean that you have permission to not see yourself clearly. So you could be coming out of a bunch of circumstances where you feel like you didn't get the recognition that you deserved, or you should be making more than what you earn, or something like this. You should have a bigger title. Go get it. Go get it. And he is helping you with that. Just hammering away at these things, okay? Piles and piles of them day after day. And the fact that it's also on the beach and there are beautiful crystal waters coming in, going out, the waves symbolizes clarity of mind and a higher vibration, emotional state for you where you feel more centered, rooted, grounded, balanced, okay, at peace. And he really wants that for you, okay? And I feel like you have a lot to be proud of in creating that for your own self. It's almost like you made these pearls. I don't think you realize that. Like, yeah, somebody can collect pearls for you and like put them on you, but that was your pearl to begin with. Like, you are the pearl, okay? Sort of a roundabout way of what he's saying here in a lot of your dreams is coming up, which is basically like, as your psychic, I would call this a cleansing period. I would say that you are going through a detox and you are letting go of blocks and obstacles that are you. You are letting go of parts of yourself where you talk down to yourself, or you backpedal, you become double-minded, or you get in your own way. So as you're cleansing and releasing that, especially in the dream state, your loved ones are coming through, your guides are coming through. The symbology is all there to help and support you to kind of remember it when you wake up about who you really are. So this is a really powerful time for you. And I'm not surprised that you're getting more visits and more like what seems like prophecy type dreams. All right, Yolanda, thank you so much for that question. And he loves you very much. They all do. We have another one here from a Paige, and this is a $10 question. So Paige wants to know, I think my mediumship and empathic energy has made my panic attacks worse. I don't know if it's because I've been trying not to dive too deep and read everyone. Okay, so Jill, if you could just leave that up for a minute, because I need to break this up into 3 chunks. So a couple things, Paige. When you are finding that you accidentally read everyone, that is due to your empathic ability at the 3rd and the 4th levels causing telepathy. Your empathic ability at the 3rd and the 4th levels also causes clairempathy. So you're accidentally absorbing their stuff, what they ate for breakfast, what's going on in their love life, any health conditions that they have. And then that'll open you up to mediumship, and that'll open you up to psychic messages. It's like it spirals out of control. So check out the empathic awareness class up on the website and learn how to block that, shut that down. So you should not be reading everyone intentionally or unintentionally. You shouldn't. And it doesn't allow you enough space to remain healthy and balanced in your own life. It's siphoning your energy. Now, that causes anxiety, panic attacks, heart palpitations, and anxiety disorders. And I talk about this in the empathic awareness class. All of the disorders that are often misdiagnoses, it's really this at the core. So that makes a lot of sense. But also this idea that getting more into your mediumship could be causing some anxiety attacks or panic attacks. This is an unfortunate side effect of mediumship. And if you want to learn how to really manage your abilities, check out my psychic mediumship course. This is a typical physical reaction to a spirit coming in who wants to give you a message or pass a message on through you. So we see anxiety attacks, heart palpitations, We could also see random bouts of profusive sweating out of nowhere, and you cannot seem to get it under control. You could also get a weird ringing in your ears. I've been talking about this for years. The grandmothers used to say left for love, right for spite. And that was fairly accurate. That when the ears ring, you get a tinnitus or a feeling of pressure, like when a plane goes up or comes down, or like a seashell is up to your ear. That when that happens in the left ear, it's a spirit coming through to deliver a message. When it's the right ear, it's your psychic ability kicking in, your higher mind, your clairvoyance. All of this also happens naturally and increases due to being a level 3-4 empath, because you're not always picking up on it just from the deceased, but also the living. Okay. As an empath, with empathic ability at the higher levels, you're picking up on it from atmospheres like this house, this 1882 Victorian funeral home. You better believe there are pockets of residual energy everywhere that will activate things the same exact way. And objects. So you got a lot of management to do. Do we want to blame it specifically on your mediumship and empathic ability? I mean, I guess, but that's not going to fix it. Is it wrong? No, that's true. It's true. But you should, and in my psychic mediumship course, we never increase your abilities without first making sure you have control of what's already there. Okay, so at the root, you have to master these abilities so they don't become disabilities. All right, thank you so much for your question. Let's see, we have Hunter, $10. Okay, so Hunter wants to know, what can I do right now to better align with my soul contract? So when we look at your life contract, and for those of you who book one of those with me, it takes an hour. It matches your numerology chart or your Vedic or Western astrology. When we look at your life contract, what I like to pay attention to are your pivotal points. You get 5 to 6 of these over the course of your entire life. That's not a lot. So what you can do right now, Hunter, to connect more with that contract is to, it's almost like you're shoveling with your hands. So over the next 3 to 4 months, you may feel, and even 2 months, at about 2 months out from now, you may feel like you're doing this in relationship dynamics. Between 3 to 4 months, you may feel like you're doing it in all areas of life, including work, what you spend your money on, even what you eat. Now, when I'm talking about what you eat, I mean what you ingest, right? What you digest, food, conversations, energy around you. What are you watching TV? What are you consuming? Okay. This is a period of time for you to really take a close look at what's working and what isn't working. And so some of the work you need to do within your life contract is tossing situations, people, contracts, agreements overboard. And if you really want to be the captain of your own ship and you want to get more motion, more activity, greater movement, pick up speed, all of these things, it's going to require that you lighten the load a bit. So you are in a period of time of detox. But the funny thing about this is it doesn't feel new. So if you have a lot of hesitancy about getting rid of things or relationships, habits, ways of thinking, programming, whatever it is, if you struggle to do that, you may want to just conquer that. Okay. That may be a shortcut to getting this done, because once you really comprehend what is happening at the root of that issue, it will just radiate out into all these other areas naturally. So yeah, it's a time to let go. That'll help you get in alignment, because you're pretty much, I mean, for the most part, you're really getting in order with what you're supposed to be doing, but we can't really get to where we're meant to be until we remove blocks and obstacles. So you can pray your little heart out. You can manifest every day. You can come up with vision boards and write your affirmations, and it's not going to matter until the blocks are removed. Do you understand? So thank you so much for that question. That's a good question for everybody. Thank you, Hunter. See, we lost TikTok. I'm surprised they didn't shut me off before that. They seem to have me almost systemically down so that they let me go a certain amount of time, and then they just cut me off for no reason. And they'll say like no one was there because they can't keep saying I broke a community guideline. And they're back and they're gone. There they go. It's ridiculous. That's okay. And I don't care what happens to TikTok. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Okay, a bunch more coming in here. Awesome. Let's move on to another one. Empike08 on Instagram. Emmy Pike? Sorry, Emmy Pike 08 on Instagram. $10 question. So, Emmy wants to know, my dad passed away recently and unexpectedly, and I'm having a hard time with it. Any messages from him? Okay, and I do not have a name, but we know it's dad. So let me go over here with who's here for you. You know, when he comes in here, he makes me feel like he's giving a white rose, which can mean that there was not a goodbye or a proper goodbye, and there's a lack of closure. He's pulling the thorns off of this and hoping this brings you some peace. He is also showing me pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, tokens. So we call these pennies from heaven. He is leaving you, okay? Pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, tokens. He's also showing me hummingbirds. And then I feel like this joke about this J-Lo thing that came out, I'm not even going to cut her down, okay? Because I think she's had enough. I don't know. But anyways, there's some talk of the hummingbirds, okay? Hummingbirds, but almost like not J-Lo's, okay? He's funny AF. I don't know. He's got, he has this way of coming in and really commanding the room and like commanding the energy and almost like demanding, you know, like attention. And he's not even trying. It's very effortless. He has a charm about him and he seems sophisticated. He seems smart. He may have had some laziness in some areas of his life where he could have done better. He's owning that. And that could have had to do with like caretaking. That could have had to do with like mental health. That could be personal stuff, for sure. But he is here for you and he wants you to know that he's continuing to show up in your life to help you through situations. He doesn't want you stuck on this. He wants you to know he's in a good place and he didn't suffer. And, you know, some people do. But I really don't feel like that was his story. I feel like he exited his body and, you know, he crossed right away. He also makes me feel like he's going to be using this energy that he has. He may have passed a bit before his time, but that gives them an extra amount of energy. I think of the movie Ghost, where like Patrick Swayze had all that energy because of that. And he's going to be messing with electronics, lights, flickering lights, okay, batteries draining, light bulbs blowing out, like all kinds of things. Be watching for him in the technology and the electronics, the electricity. And he talks about a dream, coming and visiting you in a dream. And he says one. So I don't know if this was last night or this is going to be tonight. But it's like right about now, he's coming and visiting you in a dream. And I feel like giving you a kiss on the cheek, just letting you know that everything is as it should be. Okay, so he wants you to release that. I also feel like there may be, he makes me feel like, he didn't say this, but he makes me feel like there are some females in like the family or the group or connected to him that are naysayers. You know, it has this energy of like problematic, stressed out, repetitious. Now, I know that someone's passing is going to be stressful. That's a given. But the lingering of it, the feeding of that trauma is where the problem starts to set in. And so whether you're doing this, and I didn't feel like it was you necessarily, but take it out, resonates. If there are people in the group who are feeding the negativity of it, just stay away from them. He just shows it almost like putting in earplugs. Okay. And he also owns whatever may have been left behind that was undealt with. Okay. He's owning that and he's trying to like come in and assist. So there could be some unfinished business here for sure. But he loves you very much, and he's funny. Okay, and he just comes with this big energy. I love him. All right, we're gonna move on to another one, Susanna Cruz, and this is a $10 question. So Susanna wants to know, hi Ivy, my grandfather Jack passed away on March 24th. Okay, I'm so sorry, Susanna. Does he have any messages from the other side? I miss him so much. Thank you. Okay, Jack. When he comes in here, he makes me feel like it's kind of got a swagger about him. He's kind of got this. I don't know. He's got this sort of attractive energy, and this was physical too. He seems to be aware of that, but it's also the way he can come in and start interacting with people and kind of how do I want to say, outsmart everyone, whether it be with like his humor or his sarcasm or his intellectual ways. He has a way of coming in and being very confident. He also has a way of just as quickly exiting scene left and being like, I need a lot of personal space. So this is a gentleman who definitely liked his space, his time alone, his whatever, projects or activities and hobbies, or even if that was just like watching TV or reading the paper or whatever, he was into it for sure. And he loved nature. And I feel like he's coming to you in nature and he wants you. I feel like you guys are very similar. I almost feel like I'm looking at the same person. Okay. So like you carry on a lot of his characteristics, and that includes integrity. Now I understand integrity has to be earned, but I do feel like some people are just born into this earth and have some integrity, whereas others will never, ever, earn it. And it's like you guys just have this way of coming from a higher vibration and treating people like they matter, treating people like they are, and being willing to give and like support a community and choose a higher vibration. Instead of having like an excessively individualistic mentality. And he's proud of you for this, but he shows me deer. I feel like deer with male deer, whatever they're called. Not the opposite of does. Anyways, deer. Some of them have big antlers. Be watching for these. He also shows me like squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons, quite literally. So the raccoons may be showing up. Like originally I was looking at like squirrels and chipmunks and things like on a tree, like on your property, or, you're just noticing or staring at you or coming up to you. But the raccoons may be more like on the road. He is also using birds and winged animals to let you know that he's around. So I would include butterflies and things like that, but mostly birds. He's talking about number patterns as well. So watch for him. He's mentioning the number 4. So he's been talking to you a little bit lately about also you have change going on in one area of your life, and it isn't his passing. Okay, I'm sure that is affecting things, but that's not exclusively it. So you may have change going on in an area of your life recently, and he's been supporting you in that change because it is good for you, even though change can be like maybe scary or difficult. Just, watch for him in the number patterns and remember that every number is a message in itself. I feel like he would talk endlessly. He's a really good communicator, and pass on love from him. He's handing out 2 different red roses, which are birthdays, anniversaries right around this time. And it feels like 3 white ones. So I don't know if there were also a few people in the family who have a lack of closure because of his passing or didn't get to say a proper goodbye. But please hand those out to everyone. He said, I'm around, and I'll be around. And I feel like he's not going to miss a holiday, a birthday, a special occasion. Okay, so watch for him. And I think you guys are doing pretty well with all this. I think he's also surprised at how like it wasn't that bad. Okay. Like the transition itself, like it wasn't that bad. Like we make a really big deal out of it and it wasn't that bad. So he seems pretty shocked by some of this. Interesting. All right. Thank you, Susanna. I'm sorry for your loss. Brianna Logman has a $10 question. Okay, so she wants to know, when will I get a better job? Well, you could have a better job right now. I feel like it's important for you to be careful if you're applying to places. and they seem to not respond, or you're getting lined up for interviews and then it's sort of going nowhere. I think you could be applying to places that are not actually hiring. Now, this was on the news recently, and there's even some documentary. I should have marked it, but I don't know. Anyways, this is a problem. Okay. And this is something that appears to be happening internationally, but it's an especially large problem in the last like 6 to 9 months in America, where people are pretending that they're hiring and they're not. So you could be wasting a lot of time and resources and energy, and, the interviews, it may again go nowhere, or you get to the final interview and you're like hired, but you don't ever start. You know what I'm saying? I would just be mindful that you're not wasting a ton. I think that was just a car. I'm on alert tonight. There's so much like weird paranormal activity happening. So there's that. Now, how do you do that? Okay. Use your psychic ability. Just make sure that before you invest, you pull back and you read the situation. What am I psychically getting? Call in your guides, call in your work and money guide. Your work and money guide literally is one job, and that is to watch over your life contract. And any work you're supposed to be doing within that life contract, they're going to support, or they're going to tell you this is a no-go. Okay. So I think that there are jobs around you right now, but we are a little off base on how we've been approaching this. I also think that if you keep putting yourself out there and you're very specific about whether these be managerial skills, this be leadership, this be you training others, which I sometimes like a little bit less for you. But this is, you being in charge in some way. I think that the more you're specifying that that's the direction you're going in, like a unapologetically freight train moving down running over anything and anyone, that's it. You will not be settling. I think the more you do that in your application process, your resumes, your interviews, whatever, the better off you're going to be. Okay. So also with that, if somebody were to contact you and say like, well, we could talk about that later, but let's move you into this like entry position, it's very below you, you just say no. And it's almost like calling their bluff, is telling the universe, this is specifically what I am coming here to do. And you may get exactly what you're ordering. So I would not be surprised if a lot of this has worked out for you within the next 2 months. But make sure you're doing these things. Some of it is involving your free will, and there are way too many hands in the free will pot on this one, okay, to give a 100% guarantee and say that it's destiny charted. But yeah, I think we can really nail this within the next 2 months. Good luck with all of that, Brianna. We're going to move on to another one from Becky. So Becky asks a $10 question. Okay, so Becky says, I recently messaged an ex from a juicy one from 13 years ago. Oh my God, you've got some cojones, Becky. Okay, I recently messaged an ex from 13 years ago. Is she not going to give me a name? All right. Do you think I will hear back? Any insight on why I'm thinking about him when I'm happily married? Uh-oh. Oh, this just got a lot juicier. I love this. Okay, so, well, a couple different things. First of all, we have to examine whether or not you're actually happily married. And you may not like to hear that, but when we're really satisfied in a relationship like that, unless you have an open marriage, it sounds like not, which is why it's coming up. But we have to be honest about what we aren't receiving in a marriage if we are fixating on others. And we don't want to give all the credit to your ex and say, oh, well, he must have brought something amazing to the table. Maybe he did. Maybe it's what he brought to the table that is missing now. Okay, maybe. Also, it can be that you are sort of projecting that you need something you're not getting, and now you're looking toward other potential people in your life. We typically do go to past relationships because they're familiar and it's easy to connect with that energy versus someone in the future or a hypothetical or whatever, something almost imaginary. This is an easy way to connect and attach. So you're going backward for that. That's more likely. I think that what happens in relationships like the one between you and your ex is that there was a contract. There's a class up on my website called Relationships. What's it called? Relationships, Boundaries, and Cord Cutting. There's another one called Past Lives. It's called Contracts, Past Lives, and Karma. That's the one I'm talking about more. The two really go hand in hand. But when you understand what a contract is, not everybody has them. You aren't going to have a contract with every person you get involved with in your life, but you did have one with your ex. And when you have a contract, it's either soul tribe, soulmate, or it's karmic. And this had a lot of karmic energy. So what happens with that is that you are always, for the rest of your life, even on your deathbed, even possibly in future lives, learning from that relationship. Okay, there's karmic debt, there's growth. Now, karma is either high vibration or low vibration. It's up to you what you do with that karma. The goal when working with karma is to learn what we're supposed to learn about ourselves and to use that relationship with that person or situation to mirror, who we are, and to honestly examine parts of ourselves where we still need growth or healing or self-discovery. And, he did that for you. And you did that for him. And so it's a go-to, it will become, because of the cords, an obsession. He will haunt you. He will haunt you in your dreams. His name will show up everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're oceans apart, how many years have passed. You and this person, because you have a contract and contracts cause cords, you are always connected and you can't get away. So that's where the cord cutting class comes in if you feel like you want to do that. But it is essentially with the cords an ability that each person has. So it's not just you. He also has this to pull and tug at the other person's energy. You can communicate telepathically. You'll show up in each other's dreams. It does feel like an obsession from time to time, and it may come in waves. It may come and go over the years. But again, it lasts an entire lifetime. So I can't believe you reached out. This is crazy. I want to know. Who wants to know what happened after this? Okay. But also, I do think, on a serious note too, you need to examine what is going on within the marriage that isn't being fulfilled, what is going on within you that isn't being fulfilled, because sometimes we realize I can't look to my love partner for everything. I can't look to a friend for everything. I can't look to a parent for everything, or a child for everything, or whatever, and we realize we need to get this thing met. But looking out towards someone else may also not be the solution. So it's going to be interesting, but it's showing you something. And he definitely is like connected to you too. So it's not like it's just you. It is happening. So many layers to these onions. Okay, very cool. Let's move on to another one from Manny. Okay, so Manny wants to know, what message does a friend of mine in spirit side have for me? His name is Jim M. Okay, Jim, I feel like you're learning to speak about something that you've been holding back on. And, he's encouraging you with this because it feels like he was a supportive friend, is a supportive friend. You guys have a supportive friendship. This goes on, this continues. But it's almost like you guys were pretty good at like active listening with one another. There was a certain level of intimacy that may have stood out, from like other friendships, or at least like other friendships with like maybe other guys. This is very supportive and sensitive and shows a unique level of emotional intelligence and, reciprocity here. There's this ability that he has to come into your life, and he uses it. regularly to just sort of like turn your head in the direction it's supposed to be turned, meaning sometimes you're not focusing on the right things. And in particular, there's more that you want to say. So when we talk about the throat chakra, we're talking about one of two things. Um, Sometimes both. Either A, you didn't speak your truth, or B, you did and it was disrespected, disregarded, nothing changed, improvements never came. Either way, the negative karmic kickback comes onto you because it is your responsibility to speak your truth, and it is your responsibility to force action, even if that involves setting a boundary or walking away, for example. And when we get this kickback onto the throat, we can develop, and I can't prescribe a diagnose, but things like swollen glands, thyroid issues, lung problems, allergic reactions, anything essentially from the lungs to the top of the head, chronic migraines, all types of things can esophageal stuff, GERD. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Okay. But usually it's thyroid. So anyways, long story short, what I think he's trying to say here is that whether it be connected directly to your family or a generational curse, which is not real, but family programming is, but in your childhood, you may have been silenced and you may feel that you need to comply with some things that you shouldn't be anymore. Okay. And he's helping you to break through that. He loves you very much. He's an amazing communicator too. You'll be seeing him in a dream, possibly tonight or like 3 days out from now. All right, we're going to move on to another one. Edgar said, thank you, Ivy and Spirit. Sapphire Yanez said, but I'm also having a lot of fun. Oh, okay. So a bunch of people here waiting for questions, maybe? Okay, I am moving. Cliche. Oh, this is you right now. Look at that. Okay. So another $10 question here, and this is from Cliche. Okay, so Cliche wants to know, what does it look like if I stay in New York? If she stays in New York, I feel like you could find that you're pulling a lot. You're having to reach a lot. You're having to do a lot of work. You're having to the symbol of, if you were in like a kayak, I guess I'm looking at, or like a canoe, I don't know, something that has paddles. You may have to row a lot, okay, to get a little ways. And this feeling of like a big boat, I kayaked once and it's like seared in my memory, okay, because while I loved it and I would do it every day if I wasn't terrified, but when a big boat comes by, you are like screwed. As a little kayak, you can feel like you're going to drown or flip, or like it's a lot. And it takes a lot, even once the bigger boats go by, it takes a lot for the water to calm down and for you to feel like, okay, everything's going to be all right. So you have to just really like stay centered through something like that and be like, I'm not going to freak out. Everything's fine. It's not that big of a deal. It's passing, right? Just like anything in life. I think that if you can do this, you are going to find all of this pulling and this work and this labor to be far more manageable. But when we're talking about the water in this case, it's a symbol of your mental state and your emotional well-being. So feeling overwhelmed could be something that happens rather frequently in regards to like your money or your work or your everyday lifestyle or the typical labor that goes along with just adulting. Okay. I don't want to color this in any way. So it could just be hitting a lot of different areas. And the idea of you having a boat is in itself a prosperity symbol. Now, the bigger the boat, the bigger the wealth. The fact that I see you in a canoe or a kayak, maybe not that much, but it is still a prosperity symbol. So if you were to stay in New York, that's what it would look like. Essentially, a lot of labor for not a lot of earnings, and a lot of maintenance on mental and emotional well-being. Is it doable? Yeah, 100%. Do you have like a big red flag here, like run from New York? New York is on fire or anything like that? No. So it's up to you what you do. You have probably another year and a half, maybe 2 years before you're really starting to feel like you're hitting a deadline and you need to start making some decisions about lifestyle change, and that could involve residency. right, thank you so much, Cliche. Manny says, thank you so much. Ivy, you're very welcome. Ayana has a $5 question. So Ayana says, what do the next few months look like for me? So I guess we'll just look at everything. There's some work stuff, there's some relationship stuff, there's some exhaustion stuff, there's some you cutting off interaction stuff going on. And then there's like research going on. So it's sort of like, this is why we have paper. Okay. So I think that what you may want to do is pay attention to any inklings you have right now about changes that you want to make in regards to career, money, investment, your resources, your degree, right? The field that you work in, whatever it is. Start being very honest and aware and open to any changes that are exciting you, that light a fire in your belly. You feel like this is part of my life contract. This is something I'm really supposed to be doing. You're being steered in that direction by the universe. And so it's like waves of the ocean. You're like a surfer, right? You want to ride that. But it feels like right now you could be a little bit in your own way, and you could be like very determined, like, well, this is a steady paycheck, or well, this is what I trained for, or well, I've invested in this, whatever it is. We're going to have to open up our mind. I'm not saying jump ship right now. I'm just saying open your mind, to what else. Now that goes on for a little while. I'm basically looking at the next 3 months for you. Okay. Then we see some transition into some relationship stuff. So if you are dealing with some people who are frustrating to you, and you feel like either they're not respecting you, or they're not communicating, or communicating with them feels like pulling teeth, or you're having to parent over the relationship or whatever, you may get real cutthroat about that and start dropping some people. You may also be doing an examination on what maybe you haven't been bringing to the table, and getting pretty raw and honest about whether or not you make sure that you're taking care of your relationships and bringing your best self. So some of that's going to have to go on. Then we have you doing research, and that's going to be the new beginning. Okay. Research, education, learning, training, certifications, things like that. Interesting time. All right. Let's move on to another one. This is from Chrissy Gibbons. This is a $10 question. All right. So Chrissy says, the universe is getting loud in all ways lately. I lost my art teaching position due to budget cuts. How do you see me teaching in the future? I'm sorry to hear that, but not really, because this was actually good for you. And I almost feel like you're getting called back, but I don't want to say that that's necessarily in the same place. Something is happening with this. So yes, first of all, let's go to why the universe is getting so loud. It isn't just you, Chrissy. So right now with some of the planetary shifts, including eclipse season is out with the old and in with the new. So it was going to happen. And it doesn't have to happen on the day of the first eclipse, okay, which was like a while ago, like a month ago, maybe. We got another one coming up April 8th. We got another one, it's not just that, it's before then. It's weeks or even months before them. It is also, you may want to look at your astrology, or the astrology. It doesn't have to go with your chart necessarily, but you just look at the astrology. Each one of the eclipses will show you what it's connected to. So if you go back, what was it? I don't remember if that one was 8 years or if that was the 15-year one. I think now is the 15-year one coming up on April 8th. Anyways, if you Google it, okay, go back and look at what that was connected to, and you'll see it was connected to this. All right. So it's just a transition within where you were already. And I think that this allows you to open up your mind to what else you're really supposed to be doing in alignment with your life contract. There is a lot of stagnancy where you were anyways, not just like where you were, okay, like that district or that school, like that field was suffocating you, was squelching the work that you really came here to do in that area. I think that being able to look outside of it and say, well, I really wanted to create these other programs or this art space or, these learning opportunities for, like, I don't know, inner city kids or whatever it is, you can examine that now and take that more seriously. I think that it's good for you to be on foot, bringing what you do to multiple locations. So you really don't do incredibly well in one stagnant setting, okay? Like whether it be like a classroom or just this one district or whatever it is, there has to be more to you than that. And keep that in mind, okay, as you go forward building. But I also think that there could be some type of a callback happening here. And I wouldn't be surprised if you do some development and recognition on what exactly you want to do, and you start to feel very positive about this new, direction for your career. And then it's like you're getting a call back to either the same position or something almost identical, but in another place. And you have to really ask yourself, is this what I want? Like, can I go back into my box? That's up to you to answer. Okay. But I think follow your passion and try not to get too sidetracked. If you're like, well, maybe I should just go into real estate. A lot of people go into real estate when they're in a period of trauma or a relationship falls apart or they're going through something, like therapeutically, like they're going to therapy for the first. A lot of people, look at the numbers. A lot of people just go into real estate. Okay. Be careful. And this is just an example, nothing against people in real estate. Okay. But be careful you don't sidetrack into some place you don't belong because you're kind of scrambling. Okay. Calm, cool, collected as we go forward. But yeah, feels like you being on your own is a smart, almost like a independent contractor type of an idea is smart for you. All right, let's move on to another one. We have one coming in from Christina Hernandez. This is a $10 question. Okay. Okay, we got a bunch of thank yous here. You guys are very welcome. Thank you. All right, so Christina Hernandez, $10 question. I've been getting a lot of sleep paralysis and it's scary because it happens randomly. I usually just pray to calm down, but why is this happening? So I just put out a video. It was an on this day video that I actually recorded like a year or two ago. It was a replay and I put it out on TikTok and then all my other platforms. You may want to go check that out. It was just a week ago, so it should be near the top. And it was someone asking this. It was a Q&A. And I explained that there are a few different reasons it can happen. Now, I don't want to scare you. I don't want to scare anyone, but I'm going to break down those reasons for you now, okay? You could have some paranormal activity going on where you're being held down. And that may be why you feel something is there, or you need to pray, or you need additional protection. But the most common reason, and the majority of the time this is happening for you, I feel it's connected to astral travel. Astral travel causes sleep apnea and sleep paralysis, and I cannot prescribe or diagnose. But when we astral travel, we leave the body, we go to other dimensions. We want to get back in the body. It's not that easy. And it's not just when you're like waking up, right? It's also when you're dozing off, because you may feel, this is how you know this is what it is. You may feel like you're getting sucked into a tunnel, or you're falling out of the bed, or you're getting, you're going down a hole. You could feel almost like this gravitational pull, and it's scary. You feel like you're falling essentially. But it's also not just, again, when you wake up, it's even after you're awake, because when you do this, everybody gets it the same way. You can't get back in your body. And for the next day, like entirely, and sometimes even the day after that, you feel freakishly offbeat, almost like your spirit or your soul is not connected to your physical self, or like your mind is in your body and you're clearly functioning, but it's almost like you're watching yourself. There's this weird sense of detachment and like, what the heck is wrong with me? Like, I cannot realign, and that's normal. That's normal for astral travel. So one of the things you may want to start doing is minimizing how much astral travel you do. Okay, check out my class up on the website called Dreams. I break down lucid, astral, visit, prophetic, subconscious, blocked dreaming. For those of you who can't remember your dreams, symbolism. I mean, I break down all of it. Okay, so check it out. All right, thank you so much for that question. So Sarah wants to know, and this is a $5 question. Sorry, I did my math wrong. Okay. Sarah wants to know, hi, so I was wondering if you could see if there's anything going on in my house. I've been feeling some weird vibes. Okay. Well, I don't have the property number or anything, but I think feels almost like it was a duplex at some point, or I don't know if there is. It's like there's a chunk of the house that you spend time in, and then it feels like there are other parts of the house you really don't spend time in. Some of this is active land, and then also the neighbor to the, if I'm facing the house, to the left. So we got a bunch of stuff going on, and I don't know if this guy is like drinking, using. Sometimes when we see people with drug abuse issues, it could be because they had an injury or they had a bout of illness. They could be doing it just escapism and avoidance because that's their personality. Whatever it is, it attracts paranormal activity. And once it gets to a point where people in that house are being affected by the paranormal activity, you should expect it to spread into what I would call a land issue. Okay, is it really a land issue? Probably not. I mean, to the extent that some are like haunted properties and we're never going to fix this. This is the type of issue that can be cleaned up. Unfortunately, you don't live in that house. You don't control him. Nobody controls him. And he has no intention to clean up his act, right? So we have some outside energy affecting the land and the general atmosphere. And you may also want to be careful about who and what you allow into your house. So be mindful that if you have anyone living there or visiting frequently who has like negative or lower energy, they feed either depressive thoughts or negative attitudes. They feed paranormal activity. Now, a lot of people are feeding paranormal activity and they didn't do it intentionally. They're not thinking that way, but that's exactly what it feeds off of. And so you're going to want to keep your space extra clean as well. And I think that you may have, whether this is like a dog or a cat, or I see like a smaller animal, I think that you may have like animals either attracted to you in your property or like already there who are seeing it and watching it and keeping it at bay and like keeping it clean. But we don't want to stress them out with that. Like that's really not, while that is their job, it really shouldn't only be their job. We need to be doing our part and protecting our space and our energy and our vibration as well. So, saging, cleansing your energy field, the house, gridding the house, also putting up more plants can help a lot. Chimes up in the corners. And again, I would just clean up who comes around. Okay. You don't, not everyone needs to be in your house. Okay. Thank you so much for that question. And that's a good one for everybody. Also, if you guys are finding that you're having paranormal activity in your home, or you're not sure, maybe it's you or someone else, you're not sure if they're haunted, weird smells, sounds, things moving about, you could check out the Hauntings, Clearings, and Detachments class up on the website. Jill, how many more do we have? So we're going to have to wrap it up. Okay. So who's next? Just a reminder to everybody, if you could give this video a thumbs up, drop a comment of any kind. It helps me out in the algorithm. And if you need to book a party, a psychic fair, or a reading with me, you can go to Ivy Rivera, psychicmedium.com to do that. And if you are not within my time zone or my availability, you can just do a video reading. Okay, so Marcy has a $5 question. She wants to know, how should I handle my situation with Vince? What I'm feeling with Vince is like, Vince is the type of person you just have to sort of speak your mind and then cut off. Vince has a way of acting like, well, I'm not going to say a lot about this, or I'm not really going to react to this, or I'm going to act like I didn't even just hear that and it's no big deal. And then he kind of pulls back and then he comes back with a vengeance. And so what's the word? Passive aggressive. Okay, that could have really summed it up right there. That's what it is. Yeah. So here's the thing. When you're dealing with a situation like this, you're just going to state your case. I feel like you already did. And then you are just really kind of unavailable to discuss it. I think that there's some manipulative energy there. Obviously, this is someone who feels as though they can almost like talk you into circles or talk a lot. I don't know what benefit there would be for you to entertain it. And so this is the type of thing that you stay on your higher ground with. It's, I said what I said. And if there needs to be additional discussion, that could come through, the symbol that they're giving me is almost like if we were dealing with something like a divorce, or we were dealing with like a breakup, or we were dealing with like, I'm quitting, or whatever it is, you're exiting essentially. There are outsiders that can deal with that situation more, like a lawyer or whatever, contact my lawyer. But sometimes I don't feel like it's that bad. Like sometimes it feels a lot friendlier than that. That doesn't make it not true. Okay. So don't engage. I also think that this is a good time for you to analyze how many times in the past you have engaged when you shouldn't have. All right. That can often help for you to make sure that when you're dealing with someone who is manipulative in the way that they communicate or the action they take or when they take that action and they think they can get away with that, looking back at past patterns can really help you to get that upper hand and keep that upper hand. And not just with this person, but in the future in all situations. This is a very educational point right now. All right. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. We do have to wrap it up. And if you submitted a late question, we will get to that on the next show. And again, if you want to book with me, you can go to IvyRiveraPsychicMedium.com. Thanks so much, Jill. Thank you so much, Spirit. Everybody have a great week. Talk to you soon.